600 grand. From that point on, at the end of his 18-month cycle, you know how much money Chan had? $30 million under management. $30 million. Think about that. All by increasing his standards. There was another little story where they talked about a logistics company whereby he was doing routes from point A to point B, making nominal money. He was making maybe $200,000-$300,000 a year, which is good money. 95% of all his business came from doing the smaller freight travels. So traveling from point A to point B, he would get, a small amount of money. 5% of his business, he would get a larger amount of money per trip, but it had more impact. He had to be more careful. He needed bigger truckloads. So he never really focused on those types of transports because of that problem. But this guy, he had a transformation. What he did was he said, you know what? I'm going to reduce the amount of these smaller transports and focus on higher transports. Because the higher transports at the time was making 15% of his business. The other 85% of his business came from the smaller transports. So he said, if I got 5% of my business generating me 15% of my business revenue, why not increase that? Yes, less is more. Doing less, not doing more, allows you to accomplish your goal on bigger impacts. You know, this logistics company grew to over $1 billion. Think about that. Focusing on things that have high impact and shedding 80% of things that have no high impact. Yes, you have to re-identify the world you live in. You know, he gave this good concept of how people are stuck in this idea that this consistency bias. By telling yourself, if I show up, I'm being consistent with myself and also consistent with others. And when you don't do that, you feel bad about yourself because you're not being consistent about that thing. But you got to shed that ideology, right? This is about shedding all things that doesn't identify with the 10X. And then also, once you get to that level, you can 10X again. 10X again. Then you 100X, right? So you got to keep shedding your identity every single time. And on that note, hit the subscribe button, like, share, do whatever you got to do. I'll talk to you later. Take care.